Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of.
Gato.
My name is Hans,
I'm Edward.
and we are your hosts for now and forevermore.
Or until one of us defeats Smog in a battle to the death and gets all their treasures,
That is
Because
awesome,
I'm
and
on a
I'm
fantasy bender.
hoping that maybe forms a small part of the new Lord of the Rings show. Although I think it takes place even before The Hobbit, right?
Yeah, way before. In the Second Age. So I
Okay,
think
well,
that's like 2,000 years before or some shit.
before we digress any further, because this is generally how Gettle works.
Yeah.
If you are one of
Already.
our regular listeners, welcome back.
Yeah.
If you are new, welcome to one of the internet's finest repositories for gaming, entertainment, technology, and lifestyle news, reviews, and previews, all wrapped up in a wonderful.
Capsule of greatness. Because we're all sick and we need that medicine in our lives.
Oh gosh, just pump that vaccine into me already, hey?
Yeah, gosh.
Yeah. Edward, how are you doing?
Good. Actually, just tired, but good overall. How about
You
you?
know, yes, exhausted.
Yeah.
We actually spoke about this earlier this week. Of course, we have this is all anecdotal and we don't have any evidence to support this, but we think it's a change in season, how winter just snuck up. And so here we are, uh, far more tired than usual, hoping that things, get better in terms of sleeplessness.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
how it goes.
So we're going to just launch straight into our reviews before the delicious
Mhm.
content and then NSFW, which is kind of how these episodes work if you're new. But if you're a long time listener, you love that I explain this every week.
Yeah, of course. It's kind of the format. We say
Yes.
hello. Everyone else says hello, even though we can't hear them. We talk about the reviews. We talk about interesting shit, and then we get to the juicy shit.
That's
And
exactly it. Exactly it. Thank you. Okay, so we have more movies and TV series again this week versus anything gaming related. Um, the games are coming. The only reason why things are delayed is because despite the fact that we've been in this industry for over a decade, there are PR people and agencies out there that still require us to beg for code. So I'm just saying it because I am very, very frustrated about this now. I'm actually just so tired that this is always the case. You would think that having a really good website that almost gets 500,000 views a month and a lot of other good social aspects, including how well this podcast is doing, that, we wouldn't have to literally beg for code. But even some of the biggest websites in South Africa still have to beg. It's a really sad state
that's
of
the
affairs, to
weird
be honest.
reality of the industry. I think it's just
Oh, well, you'd think so, but then you get people who literally do absolute minimum effort and end up with all the code all the time before release. And then we just sit
yeah,
and we watch because obviously everybody follows each other, and you just look and you're like, oh, okay, that's nice. I wish I could also just send out one Instagram story or one tweet, and that would be it. I wouldn't have to
yeah,
worry. But no, in order for us to get code, we have to send through our analytics, which we do almost on a monthly basis, and they're very good in my personal opinion. And then
yeah.
we also still have to request that we get code. Now, granted, it's not everybody in the industry. There are some absolutely phenomenal PR people. You know
Mhm.
who you are. Um, and then there are those who just make life very difficult, no matter who you are. Whether it's because they don't like you or don't want to help you, or maybe it really is further up the food chain. Nobody ever really knows because PR people seldom ever give you a direct answer.
Yeah,
Anyway.
like yeah, yeah. Anyway,
I know we can continue bitching about this, but let's not. Let's get into the good stuff. And the gaming things are coming. There's a few. There's some from Nintendo, some from Sony. Microsoft's a bit quiet right now, but hopefully in due course we'll get more code from them and other companies as well. Anyway,
Mhm.
the first thing on the list is a film called Penguin Bloom. And
Okay.
it's a true story, which I thought was quite interesting. And it stars Naomi Watts and Andrew Lincoln. It is set in Australia, in the northern beaches of New South Wales, to be accurate. And it has to do with this Australian family who went on holiday to, I think it was Thailand, if memory serves, because it was about 2 weeks ago that I watched this film. And unfortunately, the mom, when she leans on a balustrade on top of this hotel, it breaks and she falls off. And unfortunately, she ends up breaking her back. And so
Mm.
she is immobile from basically her ribs down, unfortunately. And so what the film does is it then goes through what happened to her and how it affects the family and how, interestingly enough, a magpie comes into their lives and helps Naomi Watts' character progress through everything that she has been dealing with, including neglecting her children, because of the pain and this, look, can you imagine? I mean, it's unbearable to think to lose your faculties, you know,
So
to one day go
yeah.
from being able to walk to not being able to walk or even go to the toilet on your own. And what I mean by that is when I say losing your faculties, like, you have to have a colostomy bag for the rest of your life because you literally
Mm,
can't control yourself. It's sad and that's a
that's
huge,
bad.
huge toll on someone. So the film does a decent job of exploring that to an extent. And
Uh,
in terms of the magpie, sorry, Edward, I'll tell you in a second. I'll let you speak in a second. In terms
mhm.
of the magpie, it's all about how the magpie comes into their lives who's also injured. And then through the magpie being healed by the family, it helps the mother process what she's going through.
Yeah, just to clear things up, the magpie is called penguin, as far as
Yes.
I know.
Thank
Bec
you. So, yeah, otherwise, why would it be called Penguin Bloom?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The magpie's name is Penguin. I know it's
Yes.
based on a book called Magpie the Penguin, or
Oh,
Penguin the Magpie,
I just
something.
knew it was
Yeah,
a true story. So, okay, that makes
yeah,
sense. True story written into a book
mm.
and then book to movie.
Yeah. It's a memoir and then a movie. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's lovely actually.
Mm.
Overall, it's a decent film. I wouldn't say it's amazing or good by any stretch of the imagination, but it's an average watch. It's the
Mm.
typical time again story of somebody who's going through something difficult and then they work through it. I do feel it was a little yeah, wishy-washy when it came to how the magpie was helping them, that kind of thing. But overall, it is a lovely story, and
Mm.
everything that these people went through and how they overcame the challenges make the movie worth watching, despite it not
Yeah.
being riveting or incredible in the least. You know, and the
The thing
actors do
is,
a great job. Naomi Watts and
yeah,
Andrew Lincoln are great, although I do think Lincoln's Australian accent leaves a little bit to be desired.
I thought he's English.
He is
Oh,
English.
well, obviously,
That's
yes,
what
that's
I'm.
why.
I mean, okay.
Yeah,
When we
yeah,
say
yeah.
English, he's British, so he would
Yes,
have
yes.
would talk like he's having crumpets with the Queen instead of putting on the Australian accent. Because in New South Wales, with Barbie on the shrimp or shrimp on the Barbie, and an Avo. Oh no, that's actually not how the Australians say it. Sorry about my poor Australian accent right now, but I have it because it just flows off the tongue.
Ye Well,
No,
you're
okay,
pretty much
mine is probably not very good either. Look, he did a
I don't
generally
know.
good one, but the reason why I have to pick it up as a bit of an issue is because he's sometimes slotted into a little bit sounding like a Kiwi, and Kiwis sound like South Africans.
Oh,
So there
yeah.
were moments where he would say things I'm like, that doesn't really sound Australian. But Naomi Watts did a fantastic job because I stand to be corrected, but I think she is Australian.
Yeah, she
So
is, yeah.
yeah, so no wonder. So of course it was flawless.
Yeah, like, oh, her accent was fake, okay?
Actually, there's this trend on Instagram Reels and TikTok at the moment with this lady who does an Australian accent, but then she goes and she puts on the French, an accent for the French person. Come to my house, eat the hamburger. And she says it's Australian. And it's just really funny because then she went and she did another one where she's now going to do real French, and then she ends up putting a German accent. Obviously, she's doing it on purpose,
Yeah,
purposely
yeah.
doing the wrong. It's just, but it's hilarious though. People are loving it. Um, right now, moving on to something that every single one of you needs to watch. If you listen to Gettle, you need to be watching the show that we are now going to talk about. And that is Invincible from Amazon Prime. It's an animated series from the man behind The Walking Dead, Mr. Robert Kirkman.
Not seen.
And it is absolutely exceptional.
I've heard so many good things about it.
Now,
So
we have spoken about EGAD in the past, and y'all must know for me to say that something is exceptional, it better damn right be worth the watch. All right. Um, it's just incredible. The like I have to speak about this because a few episodes back we spoke about Shadow and Bone,
mhm,
and I said how it dropped from being something that could have been exceptional because of the poor character development and the pacing. And what strikes me as so interesting is how this animated series did a better job of both of those aspects despite being animated. And, i- anime aside, when people generally think of animation, not necessarily from Pixar either. I mean, I'm talking about TV animation, like in episodic content.
mm,
You think of cartoons and you don't really think much about like character development, and because cartoons generally for kids will do like flavor of the week styled
yeah,
content.
Courage the Cowardly Dog or
Yes,
whatever. Yeah.
exactly, and those are enjoyable in their own right.
Mm,
Now, Invincible takes the longer TV format where episodes are between 45 minutes to an hour and does such a fantastic job of building on who the characters are, why they think the way they think, their motivations, while consistently adding something new to every episode where you're like, oh, I want to know more. Next episode, please. I need to know. It's got that phenomenal binge element to it. Um, it's just very
it-
good. Okay, I guess I should talk about what it's about instead of just,
yeah,
waxing on about how beautiful the show is.
yeah.
uh, so it's essentially a superhero show whereby the show follows Mark, who is voiced by Stephen Yuen, and he is the son of Omni Man, who is voiced by J.K. Simmons, who is married to a lady called Debbie, and she's voiced by Sandra Oh. So, as you can already tell, there is a lot of star talent in the show from a voice perspective. I mean, we were talking about like Zachary Quinto, Mark Hamill, John Hamm, Seth Rogen. There are a lot of people who voice a lot of interesting and incredible characters along the way, and 90% of the time you can actually you can hear them. It's actually really
Yeah.
great without it being too obvious. Now, the way the story works is Mark is a coming of age teen, and he's the son of Omni-Man, who is the world's most powerful superhero. Think of him as like the Superman of this earth.
Yeah, essentially. Even
And
looks the part.
yes, he's from another country called, it starts with a V. I'm sorry, it's just literally just slipped my mind at the moment. Anyway, he comes from this other country, um, other planet, and according to what he says at first, this planet is filled with super beings, and they all go out into the universe to help better other planets. And so it was his job to come to Earth to protect Earth in order to ensure that Earth is protected. Much like the mantle that Superman eventually put upon himself. Whereas he wasn't sent to Earth to protect Earth; he was sent to Earth to be the last remaining survivor of Krypton. Anyway,
Yeah, as a refugee. Yeah.
now, on this planet, there are a lot of other superheroes. I mean, I'm talking about a lot. There's all kinds of people with all kinds of abilities, and there is this one particular group who are technically the Justice League. I mean, when I say that, it's kind of like knockoff versions of Wonder Woman and the Flash and Batman. It's absolutely hilarious, but at the same time ingenious.
Mhm.
And what ends up happening is they're all, oh, I don't know if I want to say that. No, let me not say that. So things
It,
happen because I don't
it's
know.
in the trailer,
Is it in the
isn't
trailer?
it?
I
I
don't
believe
know.
it
Okay,
is.
look, it's the first episode,
Anyway,
so
things
if I
happen.
say it, it doesn't really ruin anything. All right. What ends up happening is they all end up dying, and then
Yeah.
there's this case that goes on about who did it and why did they do it and what is the rationale, and then the series so beautifully begins exploring all of the remaining characters. Mark, his mom and dad, of which his dad is Omni Man, what it means to be a human married to this super powerful alien being. What it's like balancing life and being a superhero. Because what ends up happening is Mark obviously comes into his powers, and now his father wants to train him. That's also part of the story. And how amongst all of this, there's a whole lot of other, you know, political scandal going on. It's very, very good. There's not too much going on at once, but just enough for you to consistently be interested and to wonder, ooh, what about this villain? Ooh, is this villain really bad? Maybe they're good, or is this good guy a villain? Who knows, you know? And they
Mm.
go through all of these motions, and it is so deliciously violent as well. I, it's like The Boys, but in cartoon,
Yeah,
like
I wanted to
an
say
animated,
it's
version.
except whereas where the boys is very clear cut on who's bad and who's good. Um, Invincible is less so. I've only seen 2 episodes to be fair, but
For a
is
reason,
it's
though, and
you
you'll
do
know
ask.
why when you watch later on.
Yeah, yeah, and it's good.
Look,
It's good so far.
I mean, y'all know Gettle is a podcast that talks about everything, but of course, all wrapped within like a geeky wrapping. That's why we always say that at the beginning of every episode. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And this show it ticks all the right boxes. Even if you're not interested in superheroes per se, but you enjoy animation, perhaps
Mm.
anime, for example, you will really enjoy this show. It's very
Oh
good,
yeah.
very good.
This show is very anime. It is a cartoon, but it's
Right?
very
I'm
anime.
so glad you
So
said that because I actually had this discussion with a cousin of mine and he was like, no, it's not anime, not at all. And I was like, but it's got
just
that like
look at it.
vibe, you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
yes, I understand. It's very much like DC Warner Brothers animation, but
Mm.
there's a certain things are drawn in the way that anime would be drawn, especially the
Yeah.
violence. That's
Uh,
it's
I
so
was
good.
about to say like that event that happens where the Justice League ends.
Not that
That
that's what they're
entire
called.
scene, yeah, that entire scene looks like a battle snipped out of Dragon Ball Z
Correct.
almost.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah,
Look, it's very good. Definitely watch
yeah,
it.
it
It's
is.
on Amazon Prime. It is exceptional.
Mm.
Now on to another film that is average. We also watched
Gotta
Ready
balance it
or
out.
Not. Now this was just a random film that we just picked. It looked like it had an interesting premise because we watched the trailer, and I can basically give you a rough overview because it's not really a spoiler since the trailer tells you all about it. Essentially, this young lady is marrying into a super wealthy family, like they're billionaires kind of thing. And what happens is on their wedding night, she has to partake in their family ritual, which is a game night. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to her, should a particular card be selected, it would result in her death. So she obviously
I'm not playing that game. Like,
well, okay. Look, I'll talk about that in a second. So she then obviously picks the wrong card, of course, because otherwise there'd be no plot in the film. And
of
then she
course.
needs to fight for her survival throughout the hour and a half long movie. And
Okay.
with that in mind, I will admit it's entertaining. If anything, this film is entertaining. And the lead character, who's acted by Samara Weaving, is sensational in the role. Honestly, like despite the film being so, she was just fantastic. Like her blood curdling screams and her, you know, trying to get out of every situation was extremely believable.
Okay.
All right,
Good
so
to know.
she did a really great job. Now the film also stars Mark O'Brien and Adam Brody, which people would recognize from other TV series along the way, most notably the OC.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's really the film. I don't want to. There's many things I don't want to say because but it's very much a spoiler. As so, essentially, they do eventually reveal why the family does what they do, and when that eventually happens, nobody knows if it's real or fact. But then towards the end of the movie, they confirm whether it's real or fact, and then it kind of takes like a very comedic approach. So it starts off with like being all very serious. Not really. It starts off serious, but it is very much a comedy. Like for example, there are three maids in the house, and all three of them die in the first like the first 10 minutes of them trying to hunt the bride. And the way they
Okay.
die, like I won't say how, but like the way they die, you can't help but laugh at it. So it is a very much like a dark comedy.
Okay.
Um, it's it's entertaining. That's why I say it's average versus being good. I'd like to think that like a good movie is both entertaining but also like riveting and like well acted. So on and so forth. Good script.
Yeah.
Whereas this is very much like really, you know, like
See,
really. But okay, cool. I'm gonna keep watching because I want to
see,
know what's gonna happen.
I bet if it wasn't for that comedic aspect, you would have hated it. This because you're not one for slasher films in general, and this sounds
You're
kind of like a
spot on.
slasher
You're
film.
spot on. I was actually just gonna say it reminded me a little bit
Mm.
of the original Scream, but
Yeah,
having said that, the original Scream was actually excellent, but the follow-ups were
that's
dodge.
true. Yes.
So I would say this is more like a follow-up, or
Okay,
so it's
that's
not
cool.
exactly scary movie funny or puerile
Mm,
rather. It's actually genuinely funny, like how
mm.
certain things happen. As bad as that sounds, like one example is the one made. She goes into I've forgotten what it's called. One of those things in where you put laundry in it and you send it down. Um,
Oh, the shoot.
Kind of like a chute, but it's a little elevator, so you can actually send things up and down. Anyway,
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
one of them is in there, and then as the bride is escaping, she kills her by accident, and her head pops off. That kind of a thing. So,
Okay.
or the drug addled sister who is so high on cocaine she shoots a maid by accident, thinking it's the bride. Anyway, it's that kind of humor. But it's alright. It's alright. It's decent. Moving on to something that's actually quite good, and this surprised us. It's a show called The Innocent, although that is actually the English name. I think it's El Inocente or something like that. And it's a Spanish limited series on Netflix. And it's good because it's super dramatic and suspenseful. And apparently, according to my mother, this is typical Spanish. Typical Spanish.
Is it a
It's
is it a
not a novella.
telenovela?
No, no, it's not a
Uh,
telenovela. It's a
okay.
proper, dramatic, dark, really good, suspenseful thriller. So, what it's about is it's about this guy called Mateo Vidal, portrayed by Mario Casa. And he unfortunately gets embroiled in the death of someone. So what basically happens is he goes out to club with his brother. He didn't want to go, but he goes because he's actually like he's a student and he was working on his law career, etc. And then while at the club, he wants to leave, and as he's leaving, of course, as the story goes or the trope, pretty girl catches his eye and they dance. But then it just so happens that her boyfriend sees this and gets jealous, and then of course wants to fight Mateo. So they all go outside the club, and then a fight starts happening. And then unfortunately for Mateo, he pushes someone and that person falls and hits their head against a rock and dies. Because that can happen. That's like legitimately
Yeah, that
something that can happen to people if they hit their head far and hard enough when they trip or
yeah.
fall. So the show then quickly goes through the timeline of how he had to be 4 years in jail. One of the days within his first year, he was let out because both of his parents died in a car accident. And then at that time, he meets a beautiful woman, and then goes back to prison. But he feels like he'll never see her again, even though he had an instant connection with her. Then he comes out of prison. He obviously has his law degree, and he starts a law company with his brother, a law firm, sorry. And then, weirdly enough, they interview people, and here is that lady he met for that one day, and they then hook up, and eventually he marries her. And I know this sounds like I'm giving a lot away, but this literally all happens within the first 20 minutes of the series. So all of this is it's exposition because it's not it's important to what happens, but it doesn't make up the bulk of what happens. Is what I'm getting at. Anyway, all sorts of things happening, and the show then starts delving into a lot of other mysteries. So, like, there's a mystery concerning Mateo's wife, Olivia, and she's played by Aura Garida. And I don't want to say because it'll give a lot. So essentially, what I'm getting at is that after that initial half an hour, where I've already told you so much has happened, the plot then just begins to thicken exponentially,
Jeez.
whereby Mateo is now because his brother also eventually dies. All of this happens in the beginning, and then it's just it's good. It's also suspense driven, and it's got an incredibly high production value. In
Mm,
the sense, what I mean is one of the best aspects of it is how the first episode was completely dedicated to Mateo. Then the second episode was completely dedicated to Captain Sergeant Lorena Ortiz, who was is portrayed by Alexandra Jimenez. I'm sorry if I'm raping your surname. I'm so sorry. Anyway, um, and the reason why they do this is because they give such wonderful exposition to the characters, building up who they are, where they're from, their thought processes, and how they're all eventually interlinked. So, how Mateo is linked to Olivia, you would never put together until you actually watch these episodes side by side. And it's such a wonderful way of, intertwining these characters. It's just good. It's a good show. If you're wondering why I haven't rated it exceptional, it's because it can be a little OTT. Certain things will happen, and you're just like, it's played out so well and realistic. And then one of the characters does something really dumb, and you're like, why would they do that? That's a little bit out of
Mm,
character. But it's highly, highly entertaining. And I don't want to
that's cool.
spoil what else happens along the way because there are a lot of twists and turns where you'll just be like, what is happening?
That's the thing. Like you're explaining all of the stuff, and then you say, "Oh, it's only the first 20 minutes."
Yes, I'm not
Is
kidding.
it a limited series?
Yes, yes. I think it's
So
only 8 episodes long, so
that
there's a
makes it
lot.
even more packed. Wow. Okay, that's cool.
No, it's look, let me put it to you this way. There isn't a single episode that feels wasted.
Mm,
So, there's always something, there's always some character development or some escalation of the story or like here's an example, right? So, he's ends up looking for a new home with his wife. And lo and behold, the house that he really wants to buy just so happens to be across the road from the guy who sent him to jail, basically.
because that's how it
Just
works.
because. And then, of course, that guy sees him and decides to make his life difficult. And you know what I mean, right? So there's a
Mm,
lot of stuff going on in addition to a really, I would say, engaging central arc of what exactly is going on with Mateo's wife and is it related to his time in prison or not? Anyway,
mm,
it's good. It's a good show.
that's cool.
And that
Yeah.
leads me, Edward, into what does it mean to be
Yeah.
a manly man?
Okay. Steaks. Oh, I
S
remember you
Yeah,
asked me
yes,
this.
yes. So we
Yes.
actually discussed this in episode 51. We had like a large discussion on things that are
Yeah.
pointlessly gendered, all right?
Mhm,
And the more we spoke about it, the more we realized there's actually a lot of things are pointlessly gendered. Now,
mhm.
one thing that's not immediately obvious as being pointlessly gendered is fashion. So, for the longest period of time, and I'd say for a couple of decades, the western the western side of civility, let's go with that, has stereotyped men and women into certain roles, into how they should dress, how they should behave, how they should conduct themselves in society.
Oh, yeah.
However, that is so far removed from what society used to be like even 150 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it was just very interesting because the initial fact that I came across was how in the 1700s, King Louis the 14th in France decreed that high heels are a measure of status. So the higher your heels, the higher up in society you evidently were, right?
So a badass bitch with the longest ass stilettos is like up there in
So
status.
they
Like,
were a variety of inches, right? So I think 2.5 inches. So 2.5 inch heels were reserved for purely the princes and the kings and the queens of the realm. And
wow.
then it went all the way down to I think a half an inch for the bourgeoisie. All right, so
Okay.
just above the absolute peasant commoner. And it's just absolutely fascinating because the truth about fashion and makeup in society is how almost everything we have today that is considered feminine and considered peak female fashion used to actually, at one point in time or another, be a marker for male status and wealth.
That's dope.
And that is just incredibly interesting. So, we all know how in today's 2021 society, there is a breakdown of genders for good reason and, stereotypes for an even better
Yeah.
reason. And so you now see many more young, let's say men, as the example, wearing makeup or doing their nails or wearing feminine clothing. And there are a lot of people out there who seem to have a lot to say about it. And why this is so fascinating to me is because how does an article of clothing gender, like, how does it stereotype you? How? It's an article of clothing, it's a piece of
Yeah.
cloth, you know? I- it's just a stereotype. Hey, Ed? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. The thing is, it's easy to see someone wear a dress. It's easy to see a man wear a dress and say, "Oh, that's a cross dresser, or he's transgender, or whatever." It's another thing to see a man wear a dress and just know that he's a man. He just likes wearing dresses. Um, and that's I don't know. That's the sad thing about today. Like even non-gendered clothing, like denims, are gendered nowadays. Female
yeah,
women's denims have
yeah.
tiny pockets. They're
Or no
tight.
pockets, eh?
Oh, no pockets even. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
big thing.
Well, you
About
see,
women's
Ed, the
clothing,
other reverse as well. Why can men not have bags? Why is it that
right?
men are relegated to only using pockets for storage?
Yeah. I
Right?
don't know.
Look,
Like
I mean,
I don't know. Bags are awesome anyway, and pockets are even more so. So I don't know.
look,
It's weird.
I mean, I will, I'll speak from my own personal perspective, right?
Mm,
I don't have an inclination to wear women's clothing. And when I say
yeah,
that, I mean what is stereotypically regarded as women's clothing.
yeah,
However, what I do find that bothers me a lot is I like color. I like to wear colorful clothing, and you just can't find colorful clothing for men because for some reason, men must only wear dark hues and brown and dark, horrible colors. Where why can't I wear pastel colors? Pastel green,
yeah.
pastel yellow, pastel blue, pastel pink, which is one of my favorites. So that's just, it all comes together, right? It all sort of,
Mm,
revolves around as to like, why is clothing pointlessly gendered? Because it isn't. I mean, who cares if a little boy wants to wear a princess dress? So what?
yeah.
It's a
So
piece of
whatever.
clothing. It doesn't imply anything. It literally has no ties to gender unless you've stereotyped it as such.
Exactly.
Or rather, we should say, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, if you were not wearing a dress, you were a peasant. And as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't want to be a peasant.
Yeah.
Right?
Rather
So,
be
so,
in
so,
the
maybe,
upper
so maybe
echelon.
what's actually happened is the peasant man has won over the monarchy and the hierarchies.
Yeah. The the
now,
the
now, further talking about this, something else that I also wanted to mention is, do you know how most of the biggest fashion companies in the world are owned by men? I'm talking about
w-
Gucci, Giorgio Armani, Balenciaga,
well,
Versace, Prada, Louis Vuitton.
that's
Men,
because
y'all.
that's their
Men.
names. Like Louis Vuitton is a male designer, and
But
Gucci as
yes,
well.
but this is the thing though. They're all men. And
Yeah.
in what is considered a woman dominated industry, or a industry meant for women. Anyway, it's so fascinating, and
I
the reason
see.
why I'm bringing all of this together is because I came across this lady's video by the name of Karolina Zebrowska, and she does the most incredible job of going through history and showing how clothes and makeup are, by today's standards, pointlessly gendered. Who cares how somebody wants to dress? It's irrelevant. You want
Yeah.
to wear a dress? Go ahead. It's lucky enough if you can find one, because goodness knows I can't. Anyway, uh,
Well, on the topic of makeup, many guys who went through an emo phase will know how bullshit that is. Like, not the emo phase, the makeup generating. Because I don't know,
listen, listen.
makeup is a thing that meant to
I've I've had
make you
to
look good.
use makeup for stage acting. All right, and I take my hat off to whether you're a man or a woman. I take my hat off to you if this is something you like to do every day, because it is. I don't know. I think maybe you get used to it. Like I've put
Yeah.
the mascara on, and it is so uncomfortable.
But it
I
makes your lashes look good.
yeah, I know, but anyway. Beauty is pain, right? So,
So they
um,
say.
back to Carolina. Her video is incredible. We will link to it below because she does a much better job than what I've done trying to explain this entire thing. And she's just an incredible YouTuber, to be honest. It's fascinating. Go and look at it. One more little tidbit, as it so happens, is that King Louis, in addition to making heels something for the aristocracy, he also added that if you have a red undersole in your high-heeled shoe, that proves that you're royalty. And guess what is the defining mark for? I've forgotten the name. For there are these shoes that everybody always has to buy. Oh my gosh, how have I forgotten? I wanted to talk about it. Anyway,
Um,
you know
like shoes you have to buy for school to
no, the ladies' shoes
climb
that
up.
everybody always wants to have. They're like the pinnacle of wealth. Anyway, they have a red
Oh,
underside, and people have
like
been
stilettos.
wondering. Yes, stilettos, and people have been wondering if that was to do with King Louis. Anyway, I'm digressing now. I'm digressing, and I've forgotten the name, so I'm so sorry. Anyway,
On that
um,
topic, but before we move on,
yes.
I just want to mention there is a movie called Kinky Boots,
Mm,
which is all about a transgender man who starts a boot company. It's an amazing movie, very good movie.
okay,
Um,
so people should watch
yeah,
it because I don't think
yeah,
I've seen it. Yeah, it sounds good,
it's exceptional. If you can find it online, watch it. It's a good
and I'm
movie.
sure it's related to this, right? Like breaking down
Yes,
gender
very much,
stereotypes. Yeah,
very
yeah.
much. Yeah.
Now a kind of stereotype that I don't think we should break down are dolls that take the place of
Well,
the living.
yeah, that's a weird
Okay,
stereotype.
look, we've spoken about dolls many times in the past, but more so from an NSFW perspective and
Yes.
merging them with AI and how they could become companions, and it's a fascinating discussion. This one's a little bit different. So, this is about Doll Town, which is a small little village located in the valleys of Shikoku, Japan, called Nagaro. And what's interesting about this little village is that there are more dolls there than there are people who live there. And when I say dolls, they're life sized human dolls. Now, there's a bit of a story behind it. I can really see your face, Edward. You're like, what the F? I mean,
Yeah, I'm literally
as if
wondering.
there's not enough horror that comes from Japan. Now there's a town that literally has dolls in place of humans.
Doll Town. Gosh.
Now, there's a lady by the name of Tsukimi Ayano, and she left Nagaro years ago to pursue a career elsewhere because it's a little village, and if you want to make something of yourself, you have to leave.
Mm.
However, she decided to return, and upon doing so, her father had passed, and so she wanted to memorialize him. So what she did is she made a life-size doll of him made from straw and basically, cotton clothing, or the skin is cotton. And so she then had the idea of, well, why don't I make dolls for everyone who is no longer here anymore, whether dead or still alive, but just somewhere else in Japan? And so she just went on with it, and she populated the abandoned schools and the parks and businesses. And now there are over 350 life size dolls of her creation in this little town, which I think has
That's,
less than 150 people.
so this woman single-handedly repopulated a town.
If you could
Oh,
call it
oh,
repopulated,
Cobalt.
I mean, it's
Sorry.
Yeah, for those of you who are listening, that is my
Ah,
cat who just
Cobalt.
wants to be in Edward's lap while he's recording. Because since I haven't been home in several months, he has learned
Jeez.
bad habits because no one is telling him not to do those
But it's
things.
especially bad today, though.
Yeah, he just wants, he's needy. He's always needy. Anyway,
Gosh. Anyway,
so yeah, this is a town where there are a lot of dolls,
that's
and
weird.
I don't think I'd ever want to visit. I mean, you
No.
hear of the crazy, horror stories from Japan, and I really have like memories of Chucky as a child. So No
See,
thanks.
I was about to say, like, we all hear these stories about the baby dolls, okay, and the
Yes.
wanted little dolls with the big eyes. What is a town of adult dolls gonna do if they ever come alive? No thanks. I'm superstitious
Well,
enough to
yeah,
stay away.
exactly. No thanks. And even if they are made from straw, they'll be like creepily strong.
There are many stories out there about a straw doll, okay?
Oh yes,
So,
the Scarecrow. Isn't there like a whole film
yep,
franchise about that?
yep.
Because these are technically all scarecrows, right? I mean, technically.
Technically,
All you
yeah,
need
it's
now is
okay.
like some voodoo priestess to go and like use, like imbue one of the dolls with like your soul or something.
Gosh.
On
And
to a happier topic
yeah,
that also originates
yeah.
from Japan. Hey, Edward.
Yeah, Pokemon.
Oh,
As we've
yes. Welcome. Welcome.
it seems like Pokemon is turning into a staple of the episodes
I'm
now.
happy about this.
Of course you
I don't know
are.
if anybody else thinks,
Um,
but I'm happy about Oh,
well,
yeah.
this
Speaking
time
of,
we have
before you continue, Edward, if you're watching
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
video and I tilt my head, you'll see a box in the background. And it is Pokemon related, so stay tuned. I just had to
Yeah,
throw it in
the
there. I mean,
mysterious box. Um, this time we have Ian to thanks, a regular listener, friend of mine,
thank you, Ian.
um, for sending in just a quick one. He was like, Pokemon bakes. Or I can't remember exactly what he said, but that's what I said. Um, it's
No, no,
simply a
no.
Tumblr
You wrote
page.
dope ass Pokemon bakes.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, that's that's what I because they are dope. To be fair, um, I do like Pokemon. I shouldn't, but to be fair, I do. Um, now it's all about it's this Tumblr page, which isn't populated that much. About this person called Gloria,
Yeah.
who goes by Miscellaneous Mao or Mo.
Okay.
I guess it's Mao,
Yeah.
who posts all of their Pokemon creations, and they are a chef or something of that kind, someone who works with food and bakes and stuff.
Yeah.
And all I found their Instagram, I found their Twitter, and
It's
it's
so
all
cute. I'm looking at it right
Pokemon.
now. Oh my
It's
gosh.
so good.
So what
Um,
Edward is talking about, like for example, there is a chocolate-based Chansey that gets put into what I'm assuming is either tea or coffee, and then it
it looks
melts
like hot
and
chocolate.
it becomes the Chansey evolution, which I've just forgotten the name. I think a Blissey. It becomes a Blissey.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that
it's a
marshmallow Blissey. That's amazing.
yeah. So the Chansey is a white chocolate bomb, which has a hard blissey inside. Yes, and
That is
that's super
amazing.
cool.
Oh my gosh, there's even a I'm sorry, I'm just gonna talk about it now. There's
Yeah,
even a Pokemon egg that's obviously chocolate or whatever, and they crack it into the coffee, and then a little yolk comes out. And then apparently I think it looks like after a period of time it turns into like a Pokemon on the yolk. Because she's
a
squeezing its
Togepi.
tiny little bottom.
Yeah,
No, not a
yeah.
Togepi, just it's oh okay. Anyway, go and check it out. Edward,
Well, the egg is a Togepi
Ian,
egg. I
this
mean,
is incredible. Thank you. I'm
yeah.
now gonna go and lust over these creations and hope that one day I get to eat some Pokemon.
Actually, instead of linking to the Tumblr, we'll link to the Instagram or the Twitter in the show
Is it
notes.
nicer? Better than the Tumblr?
It's populated every
Oh,
day.
okay.
It's being
Fantastic.
updated daily.
This is so cool.
Um,
You see, like, I would do, like, stuff like this we need in
mm,
essay. Like, we don't have enough of, like,
yeah,
cutesy things like this. I mean, sure, this might seem like, oh, it's only for people who like Pokemon. No, man, it's novel. As long as the stuff is tasty, anybody would be keen to go and check it out. At least
yeah,
that's how I feel about it. At any rate, um, I think. Thank you, Ian, for submitting. Edward for
yeah.
sharing.
It's cool.
Um, I,
It's dope.
uh, I dig this. I need it in my life, and I'm on Pokemon right now, which I'll reveal more in a future episode. Now, speaking of edibles, because these are all edible Pokemon, have we discussed what
hmm
Pokemon tastes like? Okay, no, we have to put a pin in that for a future
Oh
episode
gosh,
because
dang.
that is something
Well,
that is something I'm keen
yeah,
to
but
to
but
um to know, to like look into. Anyway,
mm,
this was sent in from Tegan from Australia, and it's basically if the world ended, how long could you live in a supermarket for? Like, assuming, of course, you were the only one available, or like you managed to get there and then secure the supermarket just to yourself. How long could you live in it? So, Ed, that is a question I want to propose
Yeah.
to you. How long do you think you would be able to survive for in a supermarket if you were trapped in it?
Well, having read The Mist, I know I'll probably be stuck there with a lot of people, some crazier than others, and not long because they'll probably hit me over the head with a brick or
Okay,
something.
but assume it
Uh,
was just yourself. Or let's say,
o-
okay, you first and then eventually you and Marianne. So if it
okay.
was
L-
just you and everybody else was dead and deceased and you were like the sole survivor and you managed to barricade yourself in a large pick and pay, how
Okay,
long do
so
you think you could last for?
so the topic in question I've actually also watched,
Oh, okay,
but
so you know the answer then.
I'm a bit biased. But before that, I would say I wouldn't think more than a year. To be fair.
Okay, so I would like you all who are listening to just think of a number. How long do you think
Mm,
realistically you could
mm,
stay in a supermarket for? Now, the video that we're linking to is from Food Theory on YouTube. It's a fantastic
great
channel
channel.
for
Yeah.
anything related to this kind of of questioning. Like how long could you last for? And they do an absolutely superb job of going through everything in a fairly scientific manner, whereby they look at the size of the store, how many products the store would have, and then into how many calories are recommended per day for somebody to actually survive, and so on and so forth. And they go and they do some really fantastic calculations. And ideally, at the end of the day, they come out with you could live in a store forever. Now, I know that that sounds a little bit like how.
Makes
And the reasoning is that although technically from the stuff in the store, right, if you do everything the right way, and we'll talk about that in a moment, you could technically get 60 years out of living in a large superstore or a large
mm,
grocery store like this. And the reason why it eventually goes to forever is because you can obviously plant stuff
yeah.
either in or outside the mall. You collect rainwater. You can live off mushrooms. They go into a whole lot of things to potentially show how you could live there forever. Now, it's an absolutely incredible video, and they, as I mentioned before, they're going to a mega detail, like how in the first year, if you act fast, you could preserve all the things that perish quickly, such as meats, turn them into biltong, you cure them all with salt. You can do the same thing with sugar and fruits, and you can dry out vegetables, and effectively pushing out the expiry date for all of these perishables by over a year. Then of
Yeah.
course there's the long life stuff, things that are in cans or like are super sealed, and 90% of
Mm,
the time those things don't really expire until maybe you open them, you know
yeah.
so it's just an incredible look into how you could potentially survive the apocalypse if you were alone. Of course, they do eventually deal in, they were talking about how what if there was the guy was meeting his like girlfriend and then had a family and so on and so forth. And amazingly enough, if it was just you and this other person and your family, you could actually all live in a large sized supermarket once the apocalypse happens.
That's cool. See, I always said as soon as the zombie apocalypse happens, number one, I'll probably be oblivious because I am. Um, but the first thing you do, well, this is my zombie apocalypse s- checklist.
Yeah, yeah.
The first thing you do, you go to an the I forgot the name, an apothecary.
And you just
Uh,
pillage.
you pillage the antibiotics.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
number one because you know that shit's gonna go. Number two, go steal a tanker of fuel. Okay.
Mm, mm.
Number three, drive it to the closest harbor, get it onto a ship, and go live on a ship for however long you can with the fuel you have.
Well, you could just
And
live
then,
offshore. It doesn't even have to be long or far offshore, just like a couple
and
of hundred
that's the
meters.
thing. You just need the fuel to get basically everyday life
So
luxury things
steal a
going.
luxury yacht, live off the
Uh,
shore, and then you can use a little buggy to come or a jet ski to go from the shore
see,
to the
see, that's putting flavor on things. I was thinking more like an actual fish boat, fishing boats or something.
Oh, but Edward, that's
But
not
yeah,
comfortable at all. You gotta be in
you
the
don't
zombie
need to be
apocalypse in
comfortable
comfort.
in the zombie apocalypse. Anyway, so that's it's that kind of checklist that I made long ago that brought me to food theory,
Actually,
and
you
it's
know
a
what?
brilliant
You know
channel.
what? Let's make this a discussion.
Yeah,
Or let's put a little pin in it, and then we'd love for those of you who listen to send us your recommendations for a zombie apocalypse, and we'll discuss it for
yeah.
an episode.
Your zombie apocalypse
Yes.
checklist.
I mean, goodness knows we've spoken about what to do in an emergency as well in the past, kind of like the Waffle House from season 1. And
Yes.
so this would be I'm keen to discuss it because,
Yeah.
you know, like I have wondered this exact question. So I'm so glad food theory discussed it, you know?
Yeah.
And
It's
so we
amazing.
we could okay, Edward, please note that Edward is not condoning you do any of these things. It's just fun discussion.
Of course. Please don't do this at home unless you hear the zombie apocalypse start.
Okay, Ed, on to vanilla beaver anus. Tell me. Tell me more about this. Why
Yes.
do I care
Yes.
about the
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 anus of a
anus of a
beaver.
beaver? Yes, let's go.
So,
And this is not even
I,
NSFW. We're just going to talk about beaver ass now.
yes, yeah, this is just interesting. So, I don't know if you knew this, Hans. Or rather, let me rephrase. For the longest of time, obviously, we all know vanilla. It
Well,
comes
it
from
comes
vanilla
from
pods.
yeah, the vanilla bean. Yeah.
Yes. So I thought that as well, and obviously that is true. Did you know there is an alternative way of procuring vanilla extract?
I I did
And
not.
yeah, and
Hold
apparently
on.
that's
Is this the thing that they always say, see where vanilla comes from?
yes. Now, all I
Oh.
always thought that this is shit because we all know where vanilla comes from. Turns out that yeah, we do, but we also don't. So vanilla extract can come from the castor sac of a beaver, which is literally the thing that between the pelvis and the nether region of a
So like the
beaver, which
human
is
taint.
technically the anus. Yes,
Oh,
yes, that's the word I was looking for.
okay.
And you squirt it essentially. If you milk it, you squirt it from the anus.
Okay. Okay.
And this is called castoreum. And through castoreum, you get vanilla extract. That's literally vanilla extract almost.
But
Um,
but okay, just
yeah,
to, just to double check here.
yeah.
So vanilla extract doesn't just come from this. It also
No, no,
comes from vanilla
it's
beans and vanilla pods, right?
yes, yes.
Okay. This is just
This is just an
an
alternative.
alternative method of getting the vanilla
Yes,
flavoring.
yeah.
Okay.
So, as we all know, animals mark their territories, and
Yes.
it's always been said that beaver marking it either doesn't smell or it doesn't smell bad or it smells good like vanilla. Turns out that this is why. Um, so they
What?
literally use this. It's a brown and sticky substance. It must be said, and they use this to mark their territories. When a family of beavers take over a river, they use this on either side of the river to mark the territory. Um, it's fascinating. In a 2007 study, um, I think it was Huffington Post asked a bunch of manufacturers if they actually use castoreum. Turns out that no, they don't, and the ones that do is usually just for luxury goods and foods.
Oh, so you mean like the expensive perfumes and things like that to make sure
Yes,
you're getting your money's worth when you're actually just
literally
getting
that. Yes,
beaver
beaver
essence.
anus.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're giving beaver squirts on top on you.
Beaver scent.
Um,
Enjoy.
yeah. According to this company, the annual consumption of castoreum only totals to about almost 300 pounds total
Okay.
in the US.
Yeah.
So that's nothing compared to what people actually consume in terms of vanilla.
Well, I mean, it
Um,
makes sense because like this is obviously it would be like a fairly arduous process because you need to
yes.
put the beaver to sleep apparently, then you milk it out of its butt.
Yeah.
Whereas you could just grow vanilla. I
Just
mean,
grow vanilla.
like this is vanilla with extra steps. That's what this
It
is.
literally is this. So if that apocalypse ever happens and it turns out that the manager of the shop owned a pet vanilla
No, no, wait, no, wait, wait,
pet
wait.
beaver,
What you're saying is if you run out of vanilla in the supermarket,
yeah,
go and find yourself a beaver.
go hunt a beaver.
Go hunt a beaver, eat it, and then enjoy vanilla scented flavor.
I guess so, yeah. It's just I saw this originally in a tweet from IFL Science.
Yeah.
Again, great
No,
website.
this is
And
fantastic. I'm so
yeah,
glad you added this because for the longest time now, I've seen these TikToks and reels, and they're
mhm,
all like, Google where vanilla comes from. And I'm like, it's from the vanilla pod. Why are these people
yeah,
reacting like
obviously.
this?
Like, are you
Even
dumb?
so, I don't find this. I mean, this ain't no two girls one cup. Okay,
No.
this is just like it's awesome. It's kind of like using ink
Yeah.
from a cephalopod to
Yeah,
make pasta
literally.
a different color. You know,
Yep.
gosh, now I only want vanilla beaver.
Actually, I'm curious to know what those kind of products go for, like what prices they go for
I
now.
would imagine a
Um,
lot. Like I said, this is
yeah.
vanilla with extra steps.
Yeah.
Also, you can't just. I imagine you can't just take the stuff. Actually, I'm wondering because you say it's to mark the territory, right? So apparently they mix it with a
Yes.
bit of urine and they stick it all over the show. I'm wondering if you had to have that in pure form, if I had to like rub that inside my cupboard, if that would make everything smell beautifully vanilla.
In pure form, it looks kind of like tree
Sap.
sap.
Ah. But I mean,
Like
do they have to do anything to it to
glue.
get the smell, or does it just smell
I
like
don't
vanilla?
know if you
Oh
can
gosh. You know
extract
what?
it just
We'll
like
have
that.
to at some point in the future when we can travel again, go to where beavers are and sniff. Well, actually we could
Yeah,
just
just
Google the
sniff all
answer, but you
around
know what I mean.
the American
I
woods or
want
something.
I want beaver taint on my hand now.
Yeah, because it might smell good. Yeah. Yeah.
And moving on to NSFW. Although maybe this should have been in there because we've been
No, it
tainting it up
wasn't too.
so much.
It wasn't too bad.
Well, we've spoken about how they have to basically masturbate what are they, otters? Sorry, the beavers in order
The
to get
beaver.
some vanilla, delicious vanilla. Although, because
That's
the
not
thing is,
exactly how it works, but okay.
in America, the beaver stands for something else. You know that, right?
It just in
Vagina.
America?
I actually don't know anywhere else. I mean, we don't call it the beaver here.
Yeah, and neither does
No,
Europe, to be fair.
yeah,
Yeah.
Europe calls it the fanny, which America would be
And
like
a few
fanny
other
pack,
stuff.
which would be butt, so it's totally different.
Yeah.
America's
Yeah.
weird, man. They have such strange things, like how,
Super weird.
like they don't know about EFTs. If you ever try speaking to an American about
Oh,
how do you send
yes.
money to them, they think it's the most difficult process in the world, whereas
I know.
it's so easy for us.
Did you send me that Instagram post, that reel of the
Yes,
girl going?
yes.
It's so. I had
So
no idea.
I mean, so what we're referring to here, and I know we're like deviating from the topic, but
Of course.
essentially in America, to send money to someone is like a huge process. You needed to go to the bank, or you need to like Western Union it, or you needed to use a service like PayPal or Venmo. They literally don't have the simple option of being like, okay, can I please have your account number and I'll just EFT it to you and you'll be done with it. Whereas
It's
the rest of the world
mind-boggling.
does that. So it's just, yeah, it's mind-boggling for this alleged first world nation.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, of course, this is the same country that only moved to tap to pay and PIN codes on their cards like 3 years ago. So before that, they were still swiping everywhere with magnetic readers.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Anyway,
And I.
right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Back to where I was going with masturbation, and that is it a good form of exercise? Because you know how the trope goes, especially if you're a young boy, everybody's like, oh, yeah, we can tell your left arm is bigger than your right arm.
Like, I mean, there's this
oh, we
film.
know why your one forearm is bigger than the other one. Hardy har har. Anyway, it's if you've ever wondered if it's good exercise or not, and bear in mind, we're not talking about fornicating now, we're talking specifically about masturbation.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just rip off the band-aid and no, it's not. It's not a good form of
Yeah.
exercise.
I wouldn't think it is.
because you actually don't end up burning a lot. And so a little bit more into this. There's a gentleman by the name of Michael Stahl from Mel Magazine. He decided to look into this because obviously with quarantine, everybody being at home and you have a lot of time on your literal hands. um, he was like, he wonders how much he's burning by pleasuring himself. And as it so happens, people haven't looked into this really. The earliest or the latest study he could find was from 1982. And what it did is it
Wow.
only looked at 22 people and what their heart rates were when they were pleasuring themselves. And as it so happens, there was a rough average of 118 beats per minute. And then from there, you can sort of work out a, calorie consumption, etc., etc. But there's more to it than that though, because even if you're not moving, you're still consistently burning calories. So then you have to look at your metabolic rates. And anyway, there's this whole long ass calculation that Michael goes into and he talks about it. And it's very interesting and it's worth the read. But really, at the end of the day, you're not burning anywhere near enough, no matter how many times a day that you do it, to
Yeah,
consider that as exercise.
imagine how intense your sesh needs to be for it to
Not
burn
just
any
that, but I mean,
calories.
like, what if it's quick? What if you can't even go for 5 minutes? Did you get what I'm saying here?
So,
Like,
like,
I mean,
I
you raise your heart rate for 30 seconds. Oh, yeah, well, what is 30 seconds in the grand scheme of
oh
things?
yeah, I just stood up and
Now, of
walked
course,
like 2 meters.
we've spoken about fornication in this regard, and that's excellent
Yes,
exercise. That's totally different,
yeah, apparently that's
because you're
good.
using the whole body, etc., etc. So there we go. If you ever wondered if this was something that was worth doing, the 4 calories you might get from it are a no.
Yes, sorry to bum you out, but your 4 times a day isn't any exercise.
It's
Uh,
nothing. Your Apple Watch
yeah,
is not going to count that. Hey, yeah, we see y'all
yeah, not
cheaters
even.
out there that put the walking on.
Mm, Fitbit mic though. Just saying.
uh,
Um,
possibly. Speaking of devices, Edward has
yeah.
a royal one for us today.
Yes. Turns out that Her Majesty, the Queen of Britain and all that is up there north of us, she is not, or at least the royal congregation, they're not too afraid of sex and all of that kind of things anyway, because they have just given the royal approval to a sex toy company.
Okay, but Ed,
Uh, yeah, what?
this is not exactly the same.
Ah,
So
so
this is not the same as the queen being like, listen, y'all, I use this daily, and especially now
no,
that
no,
my love is gone. So
no,
this is
this is obviously not that. It's not a promotion of the company.
it's just her
It's
seal of approval.
it's literally that,
Ah,
which
but
is
but
weird. I
but
didn't know it was a
tell
thing
our
even.
listeners why first. Go into why.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. So first things first. As we all said, it's a sex toy company. The company is called Love Honey. And they have been doing very, very well in terms of business. Now, this is why. Um, she literally got it's called the Queen's Award for Enterprise, which
Yes.
is basically outstanding growth
Yes. Yes.
over a number of years.
So you see,
Um,
so that's what the queen is awarding here is the
yes, for
fact that
business.
this company's sales have been on the increase for
Yeah,
over 6 years and therefore is
yeah,
contributing handsomely to the British
yeah.
economy. It is not
Like
that
very well.
Queen Lizzie is out there buzzing her way through her day. Okay, so
To be fair, I wouldn't mind. No one would mind.
you know what?
Um,
If I was that company and we won this kind of a prestigious award, I would
yeah,
so send her a gift pack.
of course,
I would just be like,
of course, yeah,
all the best for Her Majesty.
yeah. I would send the entire family like something, one
Not
for
Megan.
everyone. Well, she's not. She doesn't count because she's
Oh,
in
that's right,
America
because she's
somewhere
not
anyway.
She's not in the royal family anymore.
Yeah,
Anyway.
bitch. So the only way you know you get this is by well, the only way you know this is a real award is when it's actually announced in the London Gazette.
Oh wow.
Which I didn't know. I thought it's just something you get sent in the mail. Um, and what it essentially means is that they are allowed to fly the Queen's Award flag at their HQ,
That's
which
cool.
you aren't allowed to fly anywhere else. Or
Well,
if you don't have
without
this award as
approval,
well.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Otherwise, you get fined and possibly jailed for a few days. Now, this isn't the first time Love Honey has received this award.
Hey, good job.
They also received it in 2016. Now, as I said, it is a continuous growth over, I think it's 6 years.
Yes, correct.
So it makes sense that they were awarded this in 2016 and then now again. Um, Honestly, I just thought it's something that if you get, it's permanent. Like you get the approval and then it's always the approval until you do
Oh,
something
it
bad.
doesn't look like it? Is this something that goes away?
This is, yeah, if you don't get
or
it over
or,
6
or
years.
rather, it's
Mm,
something that gets bestowed and like passing the torch. Like I think
maybe,
maybe that's, well, I don't know. I mean, you've got it
maybe.
posted here, so I have no idea. But
Uh,
unless
uh,
unless it's multiple
no
companies,
idea.
hey, or is it just one company that gets the approval every year?
No, I would think it's like a top 100 type thing.
Okay, fair
Um,
enough.
because it wouldn't make sense that Love Honey alone is
But I suppose
the
this is
British
making
company.
news because it's a sex toy company.
Yes,
You
that's
see,
why it made the
again,
news.
why is that even,
I don't know,
like,
but I don't know what made the news, but
as
what
if the queen
fascinated me
didn't
is that,
know, like that's kind of what it
yeah,
sounds like. That's what they're doing, like, oh, maybe
yes,
she did. I mean, the queen knows, okay? She's human.
yeah. Like, look, the royal progression is going into the modern age or something.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
just it's silly.
Um, I'm just glad it made the news because I didn't even know it was a thing.
Yes, yes. I mean, we're
So there
not
we go.
British. Although next year is
Yeah,
going to be her, I think is it diamond or sapphire jubilee?
diamond, isn't it?
Diamond. Oh, I can't wait. I
Diamond.
know I know I say
Yeah,
this like I'm British. I just think it's amazing. The
we're
longest
obsessed
running
with
monarch
the
that
queen.
anybody's ever heard of. Like, she
Yeah,
deserves
it's
to
amazing.
be
Yeah,
celebrated next year. And it's sad that her husband won't be
Prince Philip
there.
wouldn't be there.
Yeah, shame. Almost made
Mm,
it, hey?
almost.
Almost made it.
Yeah.
Okay, Edward, tell me why my sex fantasy isn't so unique.
Yeah, moving right on from that dark topic. So I found another post from Huffington because
Good grief.
apparently I just can't leave a website alone
But
once
they
I
also
see
seem
something.
to really want to speak about these things.
They like the sex, okay? And they, I don't know how old this, I think it's a 2019 post, where they spoke to a bunch of sex workers and they asked them that how unique are sexual fantasies? Turns out that most of them aren't unique at all. Like
Okay.
most fantasies, no matter what you think or
Well,
how
I
alone
mean,
you are.
judging by what's always top rated on Pornhub, that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this post, they listed the 6 most
Oh.
odd
Oh.
ones, which aren't unique at all.
Wait, wait.
It
Oh,
only
okay. Oh, so
sounds
so
odd.
the six strangest ones that are not unique at all. That's what you're saying.
Yes, the 6 ones that you might think would be unique.
Oh, okay.
Now,
Okay.
um, number one, I don't know in which order this list is,
Oh, it
but I'm
doesn't
just going
matter.
to list
Just
them all.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Number one is a thing called sissification,
You see
which is
that
essentially
it's
go
forced
on.
feminism. That's what Edward is going to say. And I'm just like,
Yes,
that is
that's
such
literally
a,
it.
oh, you're such a sissy.
See, but that is exactly it. So it, the way it's called this and the way this is thrown in there is because this entire fantasy revolves around being called a sissy. It revolves around being ordered around, being dominated
Yeah.
as a male.
I mean,
Um,
I'm reading it here, right? And you say it's where you're a male
yeah.
submissive who adopts traditionally feminine behaviors and mannerisms and cross dresses at the command of the dominant.
Yes.
You see,
Yes.
okay.
But they spoke to one dominatrix who said that they don't like doing it forcefully or
Yeah.
even if within consent they do it in ways that are more like cheerleading, like encouraging the submissive to wear the dress and to feel good in the dress rather than oh, you're a
You
naughty
see,
boy, you're a sissy,
now
you're for wearing this
I
dress,
have,
which I
I
found
see what you, yeah,
fascinating.
oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, that clears it up for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's not
So
they're not being mean. They're not,
no, no, at
it's not
least one of them
degrading.
was.
Oh,
The fantasy is about being degraded.
oh, okay.
But one of the dominatrixes said that no, they like encouraging it, which is it's a whole new form of certification I have not read about before,
But you see,
which is
again, this
fascinating.
comes down to things being pointlessly gendered. Why does this person
Yeah,
have to be sissified? Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It wouldn't be a
but
thing if it
that's
was the
exactly it.
norm to like. Let's assume this person has a healthy relationship or whatever the case is.
Yeah,
Why, the only reason why this person would go to a dominatrix to get off on this is because they don't feel comfortable enough talking to their partner about it, and that in itself is a
yes,
very sad thing, in my
yes.
opinion. That's all.
That's
Unless of
literally
course,
it.
maybe they have spoken to their partner, and the partner's not interested, and then they go and get a
Or
dominatrix.
maybe their fantasy is just doing it behind the partner's back or whatever.
Yeah, people get off
Um,
on that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's weird. The second one on the list is forced by, which is also another one I thought like should be commonplace, but apparently it's not.
Forced.
Yeah,
For
it's
those of you
forced,
who
but
are
it's
listening, you
it's
can
all
hear my air
consensual.
quotes.
Yes. You should note that all of this is consensual and
Yes, of course.
spoken of beforehand. I did make this note as well. But forced by is literally where the dominant partner makes the submissive partner engage in sexual activities of the same sex. So what it is essentially is you go to your escort and you know this escort for a while, and this escort say you say, but you want more. So
Mm.
so where it begins usually is where you get the escort to do some butt stuff with you. Let's say toys or whatever. Eventually, it grows stale, or you want more. Then you ask the escort, "Hey, let's try this new thing," which is called forced buy,
Mm,
which is
mm.
where they get a third person or they themselves then go on to you
Yeah,
and
but it
instead
look
of toys,
but it
get the real
seems
thing.
like that third person would then be the same sex as the submissive. You
Yes,
see?
usually.
See,
Yeah.
again, this is, I mean, it's unusual to me. No,
Yeah.
you know, not. I just mean like even the terminology, like forced by, and
Yeah,
like
it's hard terminology.
then
It's
again, I do kind of appreciate it because it would obviously mean that it means one of two things, I suppose.
mm,
Given the nature of submission, all right,
mm.
the person is either they are comfortable and happy with themselves, right, and therefore are open to everything, so it's not an issue, or they're closeted and they feel this is the only way that they can be themselves.
Yeah, always.
Generally,
See,
those are the two. So
yeah.
okay.
See, but that's going into the psychology of
You
things,
see,
and
I would prefer. I know that's like where I'm leaning, but I would prefer.
mm.
I'm gonna think that these people are open to the experiences versus being um closeted, because I think that's very sad, and everybody needs to live their truth. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, whether you're open or not, that's what these escorts are asked to do,
Mm,
and
mm.
it is sad in a way that they can't just go to the partner and
But
ask
you see
this, or
now,
get
of
a new
course, you see
partner
now
and get asked this.
when I opened my mouth just now, I realized I'm making assumptions, and I
Yeah,
shouldn't because I don't know. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
So
They
I'm
could very
gonna
well be just incredibly open with their sexuality, and they don't really, it's not an issue, which is great, and that's
yeah.
where we should all be moving in the future.
But in essence, we are calling this sex fantasies. This is a
Yeah,
fantasy,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're
So I see, I
by
suppose maybe
by
that's
default
why
they're
I
not
was,
open.
yes, that's why I was sort of, wondering, because
Yeah,
if it's a fantasy, why can't you have your fantasy elsewhere instead of having to get a sex
yeah,
worker?
yeah. I get that.
Look,
Maybe it's just
that's just me, being a firm believer in, if you have a partner, you are open with them, you talk to them about everything,
yeah,
your needs,
yeah.
you work through things, and if you really can't come to like an agreement, then I guess this is the kind of thing that gets seen to as like I want to say third partying, but that's a game term.
Well, that's
But it's
that's
technically, yeah, that you would
actually
get a third party to
yeah,
then fulfill the needs that are not being met. But then, of course, anyway,
exactly.
please carry on, Edward. Sorry, I'm just.
No, no. Well, speaking of third parties and such, the third point in this list is role playing. Now, I'm not going to go too into
Oh,
role playing. We
this.
all know what that
Come on,
is.
this one. Why? Okay. So just to double check again, all of these things are
Yes,
things that are what you'd consider unusual, but are actually not. So
what
these
these sex workers would
yes. So
consider
these are
unusual.
super common. Actually, that's what we're going
It's
through
super
here.
common among couples.
But even so, how interesting that
Yeah.
those ones that you've spoken to I mean, I would never have said that those two were.
Yes,
I
neither
mean,
have I.
role
It
playing,
sounds
absolutely. I mean, come on,
yes.
everybody's gonna do that at least one time in your life.
Yeah.
All right.
Like you're gonna want to, hey, let's do the cops and robbers thing, or let's do
Well,
the
goodness knows I'm gonna be
teacher
Thor
of
and I'm gonna be doing
I don't
some
know.
hammering. But anyway,
Okay, I'm this episode is over.
it's hammer time.
And you're not at least you're not Hulk, okay? Doing some
Well,
smashing.
your Hulk smashing is
Um
very different to Thor pummeling.
Hammering, is that no. I, I wouldn't think so.
I do it. Okay, moving
Anyway,
on to cuckolding. This is
yes.
unusual because
Yeah.
I sort of think I know what the term means, but I'm still maybe not exactly sure. So
See,
I'm curious to
neither
see what
am
you have to say
I.
about it. Oh,
So
okay.
so according to them, cuckolding
Wait,
is
wait, wait,
where.
wait, 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 wait,
Hmm.
wait. What did you think it was before? Because I haven't read ahead yet.
See, okay, so having seen the videos I've seen and,
Yes.
with my limited knowledge, I thought cuckolding is, how do you pronounce it? Cuckolding or alding? Alding. Anyway, I
Well,
thought that
anyway.
it's literally just where a third person watches someone else have sex, I
Oh,
guess.
okay. So,
Um,
okay, my limited knowledge of it was whereby, and correct me. We will obviously correct this because I
yeah,
mean
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're gonna tell me now what it means.
Yeah.
Is where you almost get like blue balls. You know, where somebody gets
I
you to
thought
like a
that as
point and then
well
doesn't.
at
You
first.
don't. Is that
Yeah.
not what it is?
It's not.
Oh,
See, I thought it's like a mixture of the two that we just mentioned, but
yes, yes,
it,
yes, yes.
apparently it is sort of not the blue balls thing, but watching thing. It's
Okay.
where you, as let's say you and your partner,
Yeah.
you go to someone else, then you literally just sit there and watch, and you get aroused by your partner having sex with someone else.
Okay,
That's what cuckolding is. I
then
thought
how do you
it's
get
much
off?
worse than that. I don't know. Maybe you just jizz in your pants without getting off. Um, but
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
that's
That's okay.
literally, that's an
Thank you.
unusual thing being asked. I
That
think what makes this unusual is that e- escorts don't expect couples to come to them. You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so and according to Huffington Post, many of these sessions include forced by or familiar BDSM plays, which is
Oh, that's
familiar.
you see, now that is encouraging because that
Mhm.
takes away from me thinking that these people might not have healthy relationships. Actually, as a
Yeah, yeah,
matter of
yeah.
fact, they're very healthy because they're there with their partners. So good on you. Good
Yeah,
on
I guess
you for
so.
people who are doing. Yeah, that shifts completely what the way that I thought about it
Yeah,
or the way that
so
I'm
at
thinking
least
about
this
it.
point mentions that
Yeah.
explicitly,
Yeah, yeah.
And then number 5 is threesomes,
Oh,
which
but
is we
come now,
all know
that's
what a
obvious.
threesome is.
Everybody wants one at least once, right?
Now,
At
I
some
don't know why
point.
this is unusual or
No, no,
one
I
would
think it's
think it's
because
unique.
it is still like taboo. You know, like people are like, oh, how could you? How dare you? You know, don't want to share your partner. You know, you
More
get what I'm saying.
taboo than sissification, I guess. I don't know. And then number
I hear you.
6,
I hear you.
and then 6 is something that I would put under the role playing, but for some reason it's
It's its own
a
thing.
thing of
Okay.
itself. Yeah, it's blackmail, which is literally just role playing blackmailing.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know.
It's
That
no,
that's what they
yeah.
say anyway. Maybe it's real blackmailing and there's
No,
some
so
weird shit
that's like
going on.
I've told your wife I'm gonna send her pictures if you don't
That's
do me
literally
now.
what
You
it
know, like that
is.
kind of.
Yeah. You naughty, naughty boy. How dare you cheat on your test? I'm gonna tell the principal.
Okay,
You
well
can tell I've
that
done this
is
one before.
okay. That was
So
a part I was not expecting you to go in that direction, but okay.
if you know the part, why not act it?
Well, yes,
Okay.
and hello, Thor slash Hulk. Thank you. You're
Yes.
welcome. You're welcome. Okay.
And so yeah, the whole point is that you don't need to be afraid that you have this weird ass kink. Most of the time, chances are that someone would
well,
have asked for it
well,
before.
I will be perfectly honest with you.
Hmm.
Um, I guess I'm very vanilla. Not
Me
even
too.
Beaver vanilla. I'm obviously pod
Yeah.
vanilla because when I was thinking about, I mean, if I have to think of like fantasies,
Mm.
the okay, maybe the only two out of this list would be the role playing and the threesome, but none of the other stuff.
But not even the
So
threesome, to be fair. Like
yeah, no,
my
well, I mean,
well, you do you, but like for me, I'm even more vanilla than you then, because yeah, it's just
so
weird.
you see, I'm vanilla pod, you vanilla essence.
There we go. I'm vanilla extract. it's, it's it's weird, but
Uh,
yeah, it's not weird enough for you to feel alone.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So maybe so this one is like your sex fantasy isn't so unique, but then maybe there are people out there who are like they want to experience the squid hentai, you know,
Yeah,
You know,
maybe.
like that. I guess would be super unique then, right?
I bet there are people who go to Japan because they think for some reason it's only in Japan that you
I
can get the
No,
squid
you could probably
hentai
get it
or
everywhere,
whatever.
but also at the same time,
Exactly.
though, I mean, like, I know we spoke about my octopus teacher last week. They can
Mm.
be quite dangerous, so you'd have to be very careful.
Do you do octopuses have teeth
They
or do
have
they only suck?
no, they have. If the term is correct, I think it's mandibles. No, no, sorry, they have a beak.
Oh,
No, they have a beak. They have a beak. Sorry,
beak. Okay.
and then other ones have in the tentacles on the tips. Some of them
Mm.
actually have like a almost like a needle like point where they can inject venom.
Oh, okay.
So
That
unless you
that
want something like that going into your ass or your vagina, I can't imagine it being a very. Actually, this is reminding me of something else, and this is totally unrelated. I was sent a video of somebody, and I forwarded this to you, Edward,
yeah.
of somebody putting Mentos and Coke in their butt.
Oh,
And I was like, why would you do that?
no,
And
but
I was just like, I'm already somebody who doesn't even drink fizzy drinks because of the gas. Now
mhm.
you've gone and you've put like Mentos and Coke into your, and I was just like, I Googled it because I needed to know if the people, if they survive, like how much damage is there from, I mean, you know how quickly that expands, right? And this
Yeah.
video was just like shocking. Like her whole stomach just like whoop and then like came out and it was
And it makes me
awful.
sad as well. Anyway.
So
Yeah.
I did some Googling and I just came across some more really funny stories of people giving their anecdotal evidence, obviously on Reddit, about how they felt about it and that, but it didn't do any lasting damage, thankfully. But I still can't imagine it'd be good for you just in general. So please, y'all,
Yeah.
don't do that. This is like eating Tide Pods, okay?
Yeah,
Don't do that.
don't do stupid. Stupid,
Well,
you
this is the
know?
thing. People who do things like I don't think it's dumb.
Oh
All
gosh.
right. And this is the end of NSFW.
Uh-huh.
gotta
I
put a
just
pin in it at some point, right? Because otherwise we're just
yeah.
gonna
I just want to mention something quick. We spoke about the octopuses and stuff. I saw a quick video. I think it was IFL Science
Mhm.
also tweeted this about the world's biggest octopus, the Kraken. They
Yes.
found more video footage of this thing. Now, the only reason we know it exists because we know very little about our oceans. The
Yeah.
only reason we know the Kraken exists is because
Well, hold on.
every few
It's
years.
not the Kraken, it's the giant squid. There's
Well,
difference. There's a difference.
it's called the Kraken. Um,
Anyway, let's
it's
hope it is the Kraken because that would be super cool.
it's not the mythological Kraken.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. It's just a giant squid. Yes.
like I
No,
do
no.
believe that Nessie the plesiosaur is somewhere. Okay, she lives.
Oh,
Whether
yeah,
in
of
Loch Ness or
course.
not, she's somewhere. Okay.
Now, it should be mentioned that this thing's tentacles grows up to 14 meters. At least that's
That's
what
very
evidence we've
long.
seen.
Sure.
And the only reason we know of this is because it every few years one washes up
One washes
on
up. Yeah,
the
I've
Cape
seen
Town
that.
beaches.
I've
Now
seen that.
there is a video of this thing on Twitter, and it looks scary. It looks so scary
Please
and
share
so
this, Edward.
fascinating.
I'll
I
link this
will share it to you.
as a note just before we
I
before
will
we do
do this.
the
Yeah.
outro. Wow.
And that I just wanted to mention that. And going on the mandibles thing,
Do you know how
knowing
many
this
people
thing
you could
has
feed?
beaks and stuff.
Because we
Sorry.
remember I told you like my mother was like we're not eating calamari anymore. All I can think about is calamari now.
Yeah, I'm hungry now. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that as a quick
This is
interesting side.
typical Gettle. What can we eat? How can we eat it? And would it be
Is Pokemon
tasty?
edible?
And exactly. And what can you fall on that's just gonna up your butt? That's also part of the things that we just
Literally,
end up talking about.
we've had multiple episodes where we have lay motifs throughout Gettle that keeps coming back. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, well, that was the end of well, welcome to the end, rather. Thank you for joining us throughout
Yes.
Gettle 55, Season 2, Episode 13, which has a lot of prime numbers, with the exception of Season 2, so that's something awesome.
Mhm.
I know that one of you guys pointed out we're going to be getting to episode 60 soon, although I think episode 69 is the one that we're going to be looking forward to.
That might be the better one.
That might be the better one, yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Gettle. We hope you all have a wonderful week ahead.
Mhm.
And if you enjoy, you know what to do. And we look forward to seeing you all again next week. Ciao,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye.